Rumors have been ramping up for the Galaxy S26 series, and I'm starting to see a lot of conversations online about how disappointing it is that all the rumors are pointing to Samsung not doing much with the Galaxy S26 series when compared to the Galaxy S25. And I wanted to jump into this discussion because I want to make sure people understand what's happening and the possibilities of why this is all happening. Because I think, the Galaxy S26 series is going to be one of the biggest launches for the Android world in 2026, and a lot of people are excited to buy it. And I want to advise caution on that because there's a lot of reasons that maybe you should not be buying the Galaxy S26 series and instead just be getting a Galaxy S25 and calling it a day. So I want to talk about why I think that, what's going on in these rumors that we've seen, why Samsung might be making some of the decisions that it's allegedly making, and what this means for you, the person who's possibly going to buy one of these phones. So let's start with the specs themselves and the discussion around them. So I want to start here on the Samsung Galaxy subreddit, where there's a very tongue-in-cheek headline here: "Damn, the new phone is fire. Should I upgrade?" And they have an image here of the Galaxy S22 and a leaked render of the Galaxy S26 and showing the camera specs for each one. And as you can see, nothing has changed. And obviously this is disappointing. By the time the Galaxy S26 launches, that means it'll have been 4 years with the exact same camera hardware, the same sensors, the same lenses, everything, which is wild. 4 years is an eternity in the smartphone world, and for Samsung to remain completely not changing anything in the camera hardware department for that long is wild. So the discussion underneath this image in the Reddit thread is multifaceted. We've got the top comment here from this person. They said they went from a S20 to an S25, and that was a huge tech jump. And they defend that not everyone upgrades their phone every year. So therefore, for a lot of people, upgrading from, let's say, an S21 to an S26 will be a significant upgrade. And that's valid, totally valid. But underneath that, the next comment down is that this person says, "I'm not going to defend Samsung on this one. Reusing the same camera hardware is just sad." And then also concedes that the image signal processor on the processor that comes with the phone can make a big difference, even if the camera hardware itself hasn't changed, which once again, totally valid. But overall, the thread is filled with people just being extremely disappointed, being like, why is Samsung doing this? And I want to make sure I emphasize what is exactly happening here. So this table that I have here, this shows the confirmed specs for the Galaxy S25 Plus, which we've known for a year, and then what we think is coming with the Galaxy S26 Plus, the leaked specs we've seen so far. And as you can see, there is pretty much no difference. Everything is exactly the same, except for the processor. Obviously, we have a Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 or an Exynos 2600. And then we have down here the weight went up slightly, which I'll get to in a minute. But yeah, you look at this table, this is the same phone. It's gonna look the same. Most of the specs are gonna be the same. The camera's the same. It's the same. What happened here? So we have to roll back a little bit, and Android Authority has a bunch of articles and videos about this that you can watch. I'll leave some links in the description for that. But basically, there was a trajectory in which Samsung had planned to make a ton of changes to the Galaxy S26 series. There was originally going to be a Pro model. They were not going to have a Plus model. They were going to remove that and put in an Edge model. There was going to be all these changes, and then slowly Samsung started to retract those changes. As far as the Edge goes, the Galaxy S25 Edge was a failure, so Samsung was like, maybe we shouldn't do an Edge model in the lineup next year. And then the Apple iPhone Air, also a sales disaster. So Samsung saw the writing on the wall and was like, hey, maybe people don't want ultra-thin phones with 0 battery life. Maybe they don't want that, which of course anyone could have told them, but Samsung and Apple tried, it didn't work, and now they're moving on. So that was a big, that threw a big wrench into the system. And then the iPhone 17 series also threw a big wrench into the system. So I want to talk about that. So one of the things that we saw with the Apple iPhone 17 series is that the iPhone 17, the vanilla model, got a lot of upgrades. It finally got 120 hertz refresh rate. It got a lot better hardware inside. The design is better. Just a lot of it was better. They increased a lot. It comes with 256 gigabytes of storage now at the minimum. Really, really cool stuff that Apple has done, and Apple didn't raise the price. Okay, the iPhone 17 cost $799, just like the iPhone 16. And Samsung wasn't expecting that. According to rumors, according to industry insight that we wrote about here on Android Authority, that was sourced from a Korean publication called News Pim, Samsung was trying to make the Galaxy S26 better, and it was trying to make it slimmer with better tech and all this stuff. But then Apple came out and kept the iPhone the same price, and Samsung was going to raise the price to make the phones do these better things, to have better specs, better hardware, better designs. And so Apple kind of ruined that, and Samsung had to just immediately do a quick turn and say, no, we have to go back to the drawing board. We have to basically rehash the same phone that we did previously in order to make it so the phone doesn't go up significantly in price and becomes uncompetitive against the iPhone. Now, there are a lot of factors that played into this. One of the biggest factors, most likely, is Qualcomm. Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 is without question the most expensive mobile processor the company has ever made. And that cost, Samsung's required to buy that from Qualcomm. And that increase brings, it pushes Samsung to either raise the price or make sacrifices to keep the price the same. Since Apple released the iPhone for $799, Samsung can't raise the price, so the only other option is to reduce the cost for the rest of the phone, which in this case probably means not increasing any of the specs at all. And also, another thing that's pressing on this whole situation is the cost of RAM. So RAM has gone way up in price. If you're a PC builder or you follow the laptops, PC industry at all, you'll know that the RAM situation is wild right now. There's a lot of reasons. I'm not going to go into all of it. There's this terrific article from Tech Radar here that goes over the various reasons why RAM has increased in price significantly over the past few months. It has to do with AI. It has to do with the transition from things like DDR4 to DDR5 and a bunch of other stuff. But it's a great article and it explains it all. But basically, all you need to know is RAM, the price of RAM has skyrocketed over the past few months, which once again puts pressure on. Samsung can't increase the amount of RAM, and the RAM that it's going to put into its phones is going to cost a lot. So therefore, they'd have to raise the price to change these things, or they just have to keep it the same and keep it the same price. So yeah, that's what I think is happening. I think that Apple and the industry at large has pushed Samsung into a corner. And Samsung is like, we can either, make our profits take a big hit and make a better phone for the same $799 price, or we could just be lazy and rehash the same phone and put it out there. There are arguments against both. Some people could say Samsung's trapped. It is stuck in a corner and it had to make this decision, and this is the better decision because this means that people who need to upgrade their phone are going to be able to get that phone for the same price that they would expect to pay for, last year, or the same price they would expect to pay for a Pixel or an iPhone. Others might argue that Samsung should have gone for broke. Samsung should have made the phones more expensive, because if you can prove why the phone is more expensive, like if you can justify, we made the phone more expensive because of all these cool new upgrades like silicon carbon batteries or better camera hardware, whatever, thinner chassis, whatever you want to come up with, then it could have gotten away with that too. So there are two sides to that, and both arguments are completely valid. Whichever one you fall on, let us know in the comments. Jump down there and tell us which one you think Samsung should have done. I really think that Samsung just was stuck in a corner and had to make a big decision, and now we're going to be stuck with that. So the question then becomes, what should you do? Should you wait for a Galaxy S26? Well, I would say no. Don't wait for a Galaxy S26, because the Galaxy S25 and the Galaxy S25 Plus are going to be much cheaper right now. You're going to have all sorts of holiday deals, and the phones are probably going to be exactly the same. The one thing I will say, though, is that the Galaxy S26 Plus, Galaxy S26 Ultra is going to be slightly different. So if you go here at the Android Authority, we've seen evidence that the Galaxy S26 Ultra is finally going to have faster wired charging. It's going to break the 45 watt barrier that Samsung has had for a long time and bump up to 60 watts. And we've seen evidence for this that we're like 99% sure that the Galaxy S26 Ultra is going to have much faster wired charging speeds, which is great. But it also does mean that, not much else about the phone is going to change. It's probably going to have very similar specs, it's going to have a very similar design, and it's, not going to be changed that much. So yeah, should you wait for the Galaxy S26 Ultra? Well, if you really want that faster charging, and there are rumors that the entire lineup, the Galaxy S26, 26 Plus, and 26 Ultra could finally have magnets on the back of the phone, just like we saw with the Pixel 10 lineup this year. That's a possibility. We haven't seen confirmation of that yet or any type of leak that strongly points to it, but as of right now, we're assuming that that's going to be the case. So yeah, if you strongly value having magnets on the back of your phone, and in the case of the Ultra, you want that faster charging, you should wait for the Galaxy S26 series. Literally anyone else, there's no reason to wait for the Galaxy S26. The leaks all point to the phones being exactly the same as the Galaxy S25 series, barring some minor spec bumps. So yeah, don't waste your money. Don't wait around. If you want a phone now, get it now. Don't wait until, January or February or whenever the phones are going to launch. Do it now. So yeah. Anyway, that's what I want to say about the Galaxy S26 series. Like I said, be sure to jump in the comments and tell me what you think, whether or not Samsung's making the right call here, or if they should have increased the price and brought more value, or if they, did the right thing and kept the price the same by not really upgrading anything at all. Interested to hear your thoughts. I'll see you guys later.